Christmas and New Year's is over and I am home. We had such a good time visiting family and friends in Iowa. We were back. We were supposed to only be back for like, what would that have been? 6 days. And I checked last minute kind of before we were heading to the airport, and sure enough our flight was delayed and we were going to miss, because we have a connecting flight usually in Chicago when we fly back. So we were going to miss it because it gave us like a 10-minute connection to go through all of O'Hare. So we called the airline and everything, and they were like, yeah, so this is because of all the crazy travel, and there was a big snowstorm in the Midwest while we were back. So they were really nice about it and everything, but they were pretty much like, there's nothing we can get you on tomorrow or even the next day. So we were supposed to leave on the 30th. And we ended up leaving on the 2nd. So we went from leaving Wednesday evening to Saturday morning. So it was a pretty big difference, but we were both like, you know, because there was literally nothing we could do. The earliest flight, we took a 7 a.m. flight on Saturday, and that was the earliest one we could get on. So, you know, it is what it is, whatever. But I was pumped because I got to spend more time with family and stuff, and I'm probably not going to see them for a long time now because with the wedding and everything this year, it's this year! Anyway, with the wedding this year, we will be going back a few more times before the wedding, or at least one time before the wedding for like the bridal shower and things like that, but not soon, because we're getting married in the fall. So, you know, the shower, typically you have a shower like 3 months out or something like that. So unless there's another reason, or I end up traveling for work or something like that, the next time might be the bridal shower. So that's kind of a long ways away. So anyway, I was pumped to have like 2 extra days, even though I got sick. You may have seen on Instagram, I got sick, literally on Christmas Eve. I was sick, and into the first, I went to the doctor on the 1st. So not the best way to start the new year, but I just kind of laughed it off. I was totally fine by the time we traveled. I was still like a little iffy, but definitely not as sick as I was on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit today about resolutions and what I think about resolutions. So I think, first of all, especially in the fitness world, resolutions get a bad rep. So people are like, oh, resolutioners. First of all, please don't be that bully that makes fun of resolutioners who are going into the gym. I know that, you know, the whole like, oh, it's not going to last. That's true. The majority of people, I mean, it's unfortunately true, but the majority of people don't last. I think it's, past February. Most resolutions don't last past February. But there's a reason why. So that's what I want to talk about, and I will link below the video in the description a link to my written blog. There's also I think a link like on my banner, but to a post that I've already done about S.M.A.R.T resolutions, and that's an acronym, but also to be smart about your resolutions. And the reason why they don't last so many times is because people essentially haven't been taught how to make goals. And I, in school, had to learn over and over for both of my majors and just for being a student athlete, how to make good goals, because you can make bad goals. And the reason is a lot of things go into a goal, and here, I'll talk about it now, but essentially I want to help you make better resolutions so that you can actually attain them, so that it's not discouraging, and so that you're not like, what happened? I made this goal later on, or in February 1st, you're like, that didn't last. Let's not have that happen, all right? So, SMART goals, it's an acronym, like I said, for specific or specificity, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-based. So specificity meaning not everyone can have the same goals, because it's not, I mean, making the same goal for even 5 different people that are very close to one another is not going to mean anything. It has to be specific to what you're trying to attain. So if you're trying to lose 10 pounds by, you know, in the next 4 months, for example, you would need that, let's say that that's our goal. Specificity would be that individual goal. Not I want to lose weight or I want to be healthier. It is specific to you, to your body, to what you think that you can do in the next 4 months. Measurable comes in where you literally need to be able to measure whether you're hitting your goals. So 10 pounds in 4 months would be, isn't that two and a half pounds a month, okay? And then if you want, you can even break that further down into per week, right? But let's just say that's 2.5 pounds a month if you want to hit that goal 4 months out. That's how you measure. At the end of month 1, you're going to measure and see how many you lost. Maybe it was more than 2.5, and maybe you know that you're, on the right track, but that you kind of sped it up a little bit. Then you can reevaluate. But the whole point is that you need to be able to measure it. If you just say, I want to lose weight, or I want to lose 10 pounds, but you don't set like a time, well, we'll get to that. That's the T. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. But anyway, the whole point is you need to have some numbers and you need to have a way to measure your actual goal. A is for attainable, meaning attainable and realistic can kind of get jumbled together, but for good reason, right? So most good goals are attainable because people don't say, for example, if you're working double shifts for the next 3 months and you know that ahead of time, but your goal, let's go to a different goal. Your goal is to work out for 3 hours a day. Chances are you're not going to be able to attain that, and it's going to be really discouraging. So you should really try and set a smaller goal at first, see if you can hit that, and then move up. So it doesn't mean that you're dumbing it down for yourself or anything like that, but you do need to be, next one, realistic about it. So if you're setting goals for yourself that aren't attainable, it's not realistic. Like this one where, if you want to work out 3 hours a day and you're already, for example, say working, 14 to 16 hour days, that's, by the time you get done 19 hours, that leaves you 5 hours to sleep, get ready, eat, and everything else. Like, I don't think so. That's not healthy. That's just not going to happen. I mean, part of being realistic is you have to be willing and able. So it's not just able, you have to be willing to make that change. So if you're not willing, if your goal is to work out for 3 hours, and when you make that goal, you're already thinking there's no way I want to do that, that's not realistic. So you have to make a goal that, maybe it does challenge you, but you have to also be willing to at least strive to attain it, which is why this is a big reason why other people shouldn't make your goals for you. And it should be specific to you. This is the problem where people make a goal in a group and they have one number and one timeline and one measure for everyone. And that never works because you have to be willing to do what works for you. And then the last one, the T in SMART, is time-based. It's pretty self-explanatory, but essentially, like I was saying before with the example of, losing 10 pounds in 4 months, splitting that down into 2.5 pounds per month, etc. That's time-based in 2 ways. So you're doing a long-term goal, which is the 4 months, and that's 10 pounds in 4 months. Then you have four individual short-term goals in between, which is, 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10, right? Because you count by 2.5 to get up to that 10 pounds, and you can measure each and every time to see how it's going. That's time-based. So month 1 you have this much, month 2 you have, this much, 3, 4 is your end. There's your timeline. You have an exact timeline. If you don't make one, and if you just say, I want to lose 10 pounds soon, what is soon? Like a week from now, that's not going to happen. A month from now, also probably not going to happen. Hopefully, if you're doing this, in a healthy way, that would be kind of severe. But, you need to set a timeline. And like I just said, long and short-term goals, make them both. Or make a goal that is long enough that you can break it down into short-term goals as you go. This is super, super important. So what happens is, and the reason that I have a little bit of an issue with the idea of resolutions is that it's like a once-a-year thing. For me, that's ridiculous because goals, you need to make short-term goals. I make goals at the beginning of every single month. On the 1st or the 2nd of every single month, I make new goals for that month because to me, making one goal for 365, or that's a leap year, 366 days, one thing that you have to do for that long, that's intimidating. Who wants to every single day that they wake up for a year say, oh, I have to hit this goal again? Maybe you should, I hit the first part of this larger goal, that's really encouraging, you know, and I feel like I'm on my way to reaching that larger goal that maybe it did seem unattainable when you made it, right? When you were going through your acronym of SMART, you were like, the realistic or attainable part, you know, it's kind of iffy for me, but now that I've hit, you know, 2 out of the, however many it is, 2 out of the 5 short-term goals that it takes to get to that long-term one, that's empowering versus intimidating. So make a goal that's measurable and long enough that you can make short-term goals within it. Or, you know, if you don't have one that's super long, make multiple short-term goals so that you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, so that it's not super intimidating, and so that you're not constantly thinking of how you're, you know, failing, which, by the way, you know, slipping up and things like that, that's not failing, but I'm just saying how people perceive themselves when they're not hitting their goals. But, you know, making the goal itself, fine. So say you're like, that makes sense. SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-based. Got it. Made mine. Here it is. But the problem is starting, right? I mean, the fact is you still have to start. Even if you know how, you know, you see the timeline, you see the steps, you know what you have to do, it can still be intimidating to just start. So here are a few things that can help you actually start towards your goals. First off, tell someone. It doesn't have to be everyone. You don't have to post it on Facebook. I mean, although, because to me that's even more intimidating. It's not that I don't like kind of the pressure of people knowing my goals, but it is just that it's pressure. So if that's too much for you, and if this isn't something that you've ever tackled before, say it's a totally new goal or something like that, don't do that to yourself. Tell someone that you're close to, you know, your boyfriend, you know, your best friend who also has a similar goal but maybe has a different timeline. That'd be a great person to talk to. Parents, whatever. Just tell them, this is my goal. I love it if you could keep me accountable, you know, check in with me at the end of the month. I'm sure they'd be like, cool, yeah, I can I mean, I'm going to talk to you more than once a month anyway, right? So I might as well check in with you and try and help you progress towards that. The second thing that I would say is write them down. It may seem so, you know, simple, but you really should write them down. It has been proven. I mean, literally studies have been done. People have been shown to be more productive when they are literally looking at the goals as opposed to thinking them. If it's concrete, it makes it more, you know, more of a thing. If it's more concrete, it's in your hands, you're looking at the sheet of paper that has your 5 goals or whatever and your timeline, and you can literally write it out on a timeline, right? I mean, that would be easy, because then you could see it, it'd be visible, you could check things off. I mean, who doesn't love making a to-do list just to check it off, right? I mean, that's like one of my favorite parts of making a to-do list is like, you know, highlighting them or crossing them out or checking them off. This is a separate, you know, how-to, but use self-talk. So this is not easy. I mean, self-talk takes practice, but when you're looking to really make progress towards goals, you need to talk yourself through it. So it's cool to have other people, you know, coaching you or helping you, not coaching you, stop, because you don't want people putting their timeline on your goals, but helping you, you know, motivating you, that's fine. But you essentially are who's going to make your goals happen, right? This is for you. You're doing this to better yourself. So use self-talk. So self-talk, I was actually taught this. I'm not sure if it was in, you know, one of my college classes or if it was literally probably in an athlete seminar or something like that. Self-talk is a classic technique that sports psychologists use with their athletes when they're going through a tough athletic situation. So for example, for a track athlete who had repeat 200s for a practice, and they had 2 200s left and they had already done, so they had 8 that day, and they had 2 left to get to their 10, and they are super fatigued. Any of you who have run track know that 200s repeat with little rest are pretty difficult, right? So for example, they have these 2 left, they're feeling really fatigued. A sports psychologist would tell them to push past those mental barriers by using self-talk. Literally talking yourself through it. You only have 2 left. It only takes you 20-some seconds to run these 200s. That's less than a minute of real running time. So if you can push through this first one, you literally only have 20 seconds or so of actual practice left, and do it one at a time, right? That's self-talk. So the same could go for, let's just keep going with this losing weight or getting healthier example. If you're having a craving and you have, you're starting to follow macros, for example, or you have a diet laid out in front of you and you have this craving and it would totally throw your numbers off and you really don't want to do that to yourself, you talk yourself through that craving. Do I really want this, or is it just in front of me? Maybe I'm craving something else. There are things you can look up, by the way, to see like if you're craving something salty, what you can eat to actually like satisfy that craving without having like chips, But anyway, talk yourself through it. Do I need this? What is this? Is this going to make me happy tomorrow? If I say no to this, it's going to be really empowering tomorrow when, this happens again. I can remember how strong I was yesterday, and it's just going to be a snowball effect. Like, you can do this. You think of how good it felt to take those progress pictures this morning, etc., etc. That's self-talk. So for me and my goals, because like I said, I'm not really calling them resolutions, but here would be a few of my goals for, the beginning of this year or just starting the year out right. Here's what I had so far. Number 1, waking up earlier. When I was personal training back in Iowa, I had clients usually starting at, 6:30 in the morning, usually 6, I think. And so I was always up early. I would sometimes get in and do like cardio or like a short lift or something beforehand because I would like to, like if I had just one client, for example, at 6 a.m. versus like a back to back to back, kind of dependent on the day, but I would love to be up early, be done with my stuff and my client by like 7:30. That would feel super good. And I have not been doing that as much anymore. When I have an early call time for work, sometimes I'll be up early, but they're not always that early. So it's kind of hard sometimes to motivate yourself to get up when someone isn't there waiting for you. That's not to say that, sleep isn't also good, and it's not like I sleep until noon, but, I think, getting up like an hour earlier, 7:30 versus 8:30, that kind of a thing. That's my next goal. I still need to work on the measurable part of that, exactly how much earlier I'm going to wake up. But that's number 1. Okay, number 2, so all of these I kind of still need to measure out, but generally number 2 is to stop putting things off just because I can. So what I mean by that is sometimes the things have a deadline and I know that I have time to get it done before the deadline. Like the deadline is the 10th and it's the 5th and I have time that day to get it done, but I also have time to clean the house, right? I might clean the house even though, I could definitely do that the day after, and it might feel good to get that thing done before the deadline. I will push things off until the day before. Even if it's something really small that only takes me like half an hour or an hour. I tend to do that. And I see that instead of seeing it as a deadline, like the very last day, I see it as like the day I should do it, right? Like it's due on the 10th, so I should do it on the 9th, or you know what I mean? Anyway, that's just a small thing, but it's been kind of bugging me that I'll put things off like that sometimes, just because I can, because it's not due yet or whatever. Oh, this one's fun. Number 3, it would be to try something new every month. So it doesn't have to be something ridiculous, like I don't have to go skydiving, or something of that nature every single month, but try something new, like take a cooking or dancing class, or go to a movie that only has subtitles, which kind of makes me cringe right now because having to read, the whole time, that's like not my jam usually, but if maybe I would like it if I went and tried it out, things like that. Try something new in a totally new, try and make it in a new realm every month. Number 4 would be to cook more full meals when I cook. So what's been happening is now that I'm not competing anymore, I have a little more flexibility, but I still cook as if I'm competing. And I don't prep full meals at a time. I'll prep like, 5 pounds of chicken. And I live with someone, so I'm not like eating that, but all myself. But, I'll cook like pounds of meat and a whole, group of lettuce. Oh my God, you guys, that's so embarrassing. Anyway, did I just say lettuce? Asparagus is what I meant to say. I will make huge batches of things and kind of keep them in their own containers so that when I do want to go, like, actually weigh them out, they're there for me. And that is convenient, but at the same time, I don't need to do that all the time. And sometimes it does get boring to be like, oh, I have chicken already prepped, or I already have this steak I've already, seared or whatever. it's just unnecessary. And so I'd like to get back to like making a whole dish, you know, that actually like cohesively goes together. I'd like to actually cook more versus just prep more. Okay, and the last one seems a little superficial, but it's more of a mentality thing, and I think it's going to help when I get up earlier and things like that, is to actually get ready for the day every day. So by that I mean, when you work from home, like when I'm not modeling and I'm just, you know, checking in with clients or, you know, having an off day from work or whatever at home, it's really, really tempting for me not to get ready, like not to do my hair, not to do my makeup. You know, I'll go to the gym, come home, shower, and then I, you know, put some leggings and a sweater on and I just kind of hang out, you know? And while that is good for your skin to not constantly have makeup on it, and while it is good for your hair to not constantly be styling it, I just mean to like more like get ready, you know, just as a mindset, you know, like get up and go through a routine kind of a thing, because I don't do that every single day. And when I do it, I feel really good, you know, I'm like, oh, you know, you're looking like you're actually put together today. It also kind of forces me out of the house. So it's not like I'm a hermit, but you know, when you are ready, you feel like, oh yeah, I could jump up and go do that. You know, I have this errand and it's not weighing on me because I'm already ready for the day. I'll just go jump in the car and do it, versus like, oh, but I would have to like get ready first. You know what I mean? It's kind of that whole mindset of like being up and ready to go. I also have a few personal goals for my relationships that I will share with those specific people, namely my fiance and parents and things like that. I am getting, like I mentioned and a couple times before, I'm getting married this year, so I have some goals in terms of organization, but that's like pretty specific, you know, just making my wedding binder, because I have this big like wedding binder. You get so many contracts and things like that. I really want to keep that in like a well-oiled machine of a binder. And that sounds so specific, but really it drives you crazy when you can't just like flip. You're like, oh, here's section for the venue, here's a section for the flower. Anyway, there are a lot of things to go into that, and it is a lot easier on you if you are organized. So I have a lot of things going on this year, and 2016 is going to be exciting, but like I said, don't put too much pressure on yourself to make one big resolution for the entire year. I personally, in my background in psychology and goal setting and as an athlete and all the goals, I had to make a lot of goals. I've gotten pretty good at knowing what a bad goal is. I've made them. I've made bad, unattainable goals. So don't do that to yourself. Please don't do that to yourself. And please don't, I think I briefly said this earlier, but please, please, please don't be a bully to those people who really are looking forward to getting a good start on this year. Maybe, you know, the past 3 years, they've been that person who, you know, hasn't made it past February, hasn't made it past March, and then they feel like they've failed the whole rest of the year. Can you imagine feeling like you failed yourself for 9 months? Don't do that don't do that to them. And don't, if you're one of those people who have had a bad start, you know, the previous years, don't do that to yourself. Make small goals so that you're not feeling like if you have a slip up and you've only made one resolution, you're done. Because that's not how it should be. You should have multiple goals, and if you have one goal, you should have multiple checkpoints essentially to hit during it, because if you don't, there's no time for you to reevaluate them. I mean, think of how much pressure that is to have one goal and you're never allowed the chance to reevaluate. You have made it, that's it. You have to follow through for the entire year. That is super intense. And it doesn't have to be that way, and it's a lot easier to hit smaller goals if you go about it that way. So I hope you guys are having a great start to the year. Like I said, mine was a little rough with sickness, but I am back and I'm excited to be talking with you guys more. Let me know if you have any questions about SMART goals or my thoughts on resolutions, any of my specific resolutions or goals that I laid out. And comment with some of yours, because I'd love to hear what some of your goals and resolutions are as well. Make sure you let me know what you want to see next, and please subscribe so that you can be notified when I have other things coming up. And I will talk to you soon. Bye!